we're back with another video. I'm about to be doing my makeup and talking shit with y'all for the next couple of minutes. So to get started, I'm using my go-to L'Oreal. I already put my eyebrows on because the last time I tried to do a chit chat, get ready with me, the eyebrows, we were struggling a little bit. So I'm like, let me just go ahead and put it on off camera. That way I can focus and actually do it right. And yeah. So I was going to save this for Krissy's thoughts, but I've been struggling to sit down and actually record it. So mainly just because it's life, but I'm just like, you know what, we're going to knock out two birds with one stone and do a chit chat, get ready with me. So I'm going to start with some shadow first. I don't know what kind of look or what kind of vibe I'm going to go for, but we're just going to start playing around and see what we get. But anyway, so for starters, I was at work and I was participating in this table talk with the company, and it's run by our diversity and inclusion team, and they're really big about having these discussions and just trying to do the work out here, which I really enjoy because you really don't, I worked in a lot of different places. Granted, it wasn't in the corporate realm, but you really don't find a lot of companies trying to have the conversations. Now, granted, sometimes it's a little hit or a miss, but I appreciate the effort. And also you see it kind of reflected back into the leadership. But at any rate, that's not what I came here to talk about. There was a lady, she mentioned something about, well, for starters, we were talking about allyship and what it means to be an ally to different minority groups and stuff. And a woman got up and was talking about how she worked with another group within the company doing pride LGBTQ things. And she was basically saying that she was in a space where, she was trying to have a discussion kind of similarly to the ones we were having. Well, no, she said it was about pronouns. Similarly to the one we were having, and it just seemed like, some guy, like a heckler, basically wasn't really trying to hear it. And my guess is my thing was you come to a panel where they have advertising for LGBTQ stuff, and yet you are now being rude to the presenters. That's messed up. But at any rate, she was saying that, she called him an energy vampire. And I feel like I've heard that term before, and, just used in different ways. But I was just very intrigued by that because I feel like we've all experienced some sort of person in our lives, whether that's a friend, spouse, partner, or whoever in your life, coworkers, all of them, where they just come, you're thinking that you're about to have a good time, but then we end up spending most of the time talking about you and your life and your problems and stuff like that. And it's not fair, or you have someone who is not really willing to even listen to, whatever your stance is about certain stuff. My AC is on, so you might hear it in the background. Um, but yeah, it's just like it's not fair, that you have these people, and you're like, well, scratch that. So an energy vampire is someone who knowingly or unknowingly tends to drive your interactions one way instead of like it being an um, equal thing, and you end up in a situation where every time you're talking to this person, um, you're tired, like you're literally exhausted because they've like used up all of your energy for one reason or another, um, and as much as you love them, you have to set boundaries when it comes to, you know, uh, when it comes to, talking to them. Sometimes you might have to ignore that phone call. Sometimes you have to put your foot down and like steer the conversation to go one way instead of another. I know for me, um, the person who I feel like this best describes, she's really close to me and I love her to death, but it's also like really difficult to try to talk to her sometimes because it seems like she's only waiting for me to finish what I'm talking about just so she can have the conversation kind of come back on herself. And as much as you like want to you want to be a part of this person's life, this person's world, you also got to take time out for yourself. I'm covering my mic, but take time out for yourself so that way you can, get the things that you need from people who are willing to give it to you. If you catch my drift, you got to set your boundaries, and be firm in that. And that can be really difficult, especially if this person is a family member. Because sometimes it's hard for us to quote unquote disrespect our elders when in reality we're just like, hey, can you at least treat me like I'm, treat me like I'm a part, that we're, somewhat equals, in this world. And I don't know. Some people, a lot of older people get real touch and go when it comes to respecting someone who's a little bit younger. So sometimes you just gotta roll with it. And then sometimes you gotta put your foot down and be like, hey, like this is how it, especially if it's affecting like your mental health. Because if you're with somebody or like you're friends with someone and you just feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but you feel kind of stuck. I don't want to say stuck, but you definitely don't feel like this your relationship is equal. I will say that. So yeah, you always want to be mindful of like how people are, just kind of do an audit and just be mindful of like how you're feeling in your relationships, because sometimes we tend to like go move and do other things and then realize like, wow, I don't like this person at all. Like, how were we ever friends? And that's real, because Now I feel like I went from to because. But you have to, you gotta check in with yourself. But I feel like we do a lot of pointing at other people, and sometimes you have to realize that it might be you. Maybe it's you who has this, this problem. Like, are your friends like telling you, you know, wow, I just had a whole brain fart. But, like, are your friends distancing themselves from you, or like family members that you talk to all the time? I'm really packing this on here. Family members that you used to talk to all the time have, you know, have, do people seem kind of checked out when they talk to you? Because sometimes people who don't really take others, I don't want to say don't take their feelings, but they're not really receptive to other people's opinions. And do your thing, live your life, but people, if it's one thing when one person says something, but then it should be a little more alarming when 2, 3, maybe 4 people say the same thing. So if that's you might have to reevaluate. And sometimes you can just ask your friends, like, hey, just check in with your friends and see, like, hey, how can I be a better friend? And if they're like, yeah, sometimes you tend to steer the conversation one way, in one direction, and it's not fair because, people want to talk to you, but they can't talk to you if you only want to talk about yourself. And that's the main thing. With people who are energy vampires, they tend to only talk about themselves, or they love having oppression wars. Those people who are like, you don't know anything about the struggle group because you do this and then I do this. I work this kind of job, so you don't know hard work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm black, and so I know the struggle, or I'm a woman and I know the struggle, or I'm a man and I know the struggle. Like, yeah, like, those are the kind of people that I tend to stay away from. Just personally, because I don't have time for you to gaslight me or tell me that my struggles are not a struggle because it's quote unquote easier for you to deal with. And if I'm going through a crisis, I'm going through a crisis. Like, I'm not about to sit here and sugarcoat that shit for nobody, okay? And as much as it sucks, a lot of people tend to not want to, they get a little, I don't want to say they get, but you definitely feel the energy shift when, when people, don't really care about what you're going through. Clean that part up. I'm sorry that I haven't been, super detailed about the things I'm using, but nothing's changed. I got this from the beauty supply. I don't even think it's like a brand name, but if I can find it, I will try to link it below, if you're interested. I really like the colors. That's kind of what drew me to the palette, but it's pretty cool. I think it didn't really cost me much, so. So, yeah, like, check in with your friends for sure. Like, let them know. Like, have them tell you how they feel about you. Like, and be open to that kind of feedback, because it's not going to be, if they're your real friends, it's not going to be, they're going to let you know if you need some improvements and stuff. So I definitely say check in with your peoples if that's something that you've been dealing with or going through. And if it's the other way around where your friend just kind of dumps on you, then you're going to have to put your big girl panties on and let them know, like, hey, I love you and all, but I don't like how these conversations are always steered in one direction. So I hope I'm not repeating myself too much, but I feel like I'm missing all the points that I wrote down. So, but it's all good. I think the next thing that I wanted to talk about, what is up with the 90s and slow motion? I wish I will try to insert some clips, but it doesn't matter what you're watching. If it's from the 90s, it will have some sort of slow motion on there. I was just watching Set It Off before I started recording, and like, it's just so wild how much slow motion is used in these movies. All right, so I have on my foundation, and I'm going to move on to concealing. I'm going to go to my infallible full wear concealer, as you know, under my eyes, where the money bags are, my nose, Cupid's bow, of course, in my chin. Yeah. So now we are in Aries season. And like March, I love March, April, May time. Mainly because it's like my birthday. But also because everything just kind of comes back from come back to life from the dreary cold and darkness that is the winter, especially with just the way that it gets so dark so fast during the winter time, and it drives me crazy. But I'm definitely happy for like the new beginnings feel part of the year, because it's quite a bit of changes kind of going on with me, and I'm excited about it, but it's also like kind of nerve-wracking but yeah, life, the way just how everything just kind of opens back up, and it's getting warm outside, like it's a lot of good things that come out of the spring that I just personally enjoy. Um, However, the one thing that I do strongly dislike about it's the bugs. I went to brunch this past no. Well, I did go this weekend, but last weekend we sat outside on the patio, of course, and um there was this bee that was like literally harassing me. And I had on like this pretty yellow dress or whatever. And so the lady was like, "Oh, maybe you like your yellow dress." I know yellow's my color, hence why I got it on today. But they don't have to harass me, okay? I didn't do anything to them. I was just trying to eat my food. They put a mirror in here, but like, what can you really see? But yeah, it's just the bees, the bugs, mosquitoes, all of them. All of them can go back to wherever they came from because ain't nobody trying to deal with that. It's still really weird talking and doing my makeup and stuff because you see how I'm struggling to do both. Like some things I could do pretty easily, but then there's some things I'm just like, hold on now. Give me a second. Give me a moment, please. Eyeliner. Here, this is what happens when you try to do something different in reality. But this is cool though. I like this setup. If you like this setup too, let me know. Now give me a second. Speaking of things opening back up, how are y'all feeling about... I don't know how I feel, honestly, about this whole thing. Like, people, call you one thing if you believe one thing, and then if you, believe something else, people get real interesting when it comes to, like, this whole panini that we're in. But honestly, my rule of thumb is always like do what works best for you and what makes you feel safe. If you feel like this whole thing is a hoax and you want to go out and live your best life, then so be it. But if you feel like you should stay home and be safe, then so be it. If you want to get vaccinated, and if you don't, then so be it. Question mark. So, you have to choose the things that's not going to stress you out the most. Because at the end of the day, like, you got to protect yourself and your family. So, you definitely want to make sure first and foremost that you're able to do that. I think for my lips, I'm going to do stone. Let's do a little bit. I'm going to add a corner. I don't even know if MAC still sells this color. And then, oh no, I forgot what the name of this was. This eyelash is not letting me live. And this is, I forgot what shade this is, but it's by Jazz Cosmetics. Slow-mo, maybe, probably not. But if you like this video, then like this video. And if you want me to do more chit chat, get ready with me's, let me know. Or I can just not do my makeup while I talk because I be struggling. But thank you if you made it this far in the video. Make sure you give it a like, share, and subscribe. Remember that I'm Krissy Universe, and you guys have a good day.